Welcome back to another video on our Yamaha 225DX three-wheeler project. Today we're going to get the oil changed on this machine. I'll show you a couple things to get started here. First, we're going to come to the left side of the engine, and that's where you'll find the drain plug. It's back behind the gear shift. Next, the oil filter is on the right side of the engine. And that is here behind this cover. 3 screws that hold that on. And the dipstick is right here. We're going to be using 10W40 weight oil. Use some Valvoline, designed for ATV usage. It's important that you use an oil that is formulated for a wet clutch. The oil lubricates the engine and also the centrifugal clutch in this machine, so it's important to have that type of oil. This is the filter that we're going to use. And another great resource to have is a shop manual. You can find anything you need online, but it's just nice to have that manual as a quick reference. It tells you anything you could ever want to know about your machine, including specifications on oil, filter, what the process is for changing, everything you need to know. We're going to loosen the drain plug here using a 19mm socket. Extension's helpful here. It bolts way up under the engine there. I went ahead and got this drain tab taken off here. I wanted to show you what it is. This is the drain plug and cap. It's a 19mm. And when you take this cap off, of course, the oil starts to drain. While it's draining, we'll take a look at what else is in here. Okay, so you have a spring with a screen, and there's a little rubber gasket here as well. So all this is inside of the drain area when you take off that cap. This goes back in with the spring pointed out. So this is how the drain assembly will go back in. Now we're going to get the oil filter removed. These 3 Allen screws hold the filter cover on. Those are number 5 metric Allen wrench screws. Go ahead and get those removed. They looked a little bit rusty, so I sprayed them down with a little bit of freeze-off penetrating fluid here. Clearance is a little tight on the fender, and then also the rear brake assembly here, a little bit tight. All 3 of our oil filter cover screws are removed. The longest screw goes in the back. The shortest screw goes in the front. And the medium length screw goes in the bottom. Get this cover popped off here and see what kind of oil filter we have. Okay. Right, what we have here is a metal mesh screen style oil filter. We'll be replacing this with a little bit more traditional paper style filter. Stuck to the cap pretty good. You can see little rubber gasket there on the end. Always want to make sure that's lubricated. Here's the cap. There's also a rubber O-ring on this cap. Gonna crack the dipstick here. Let this drain completely. Get things cleaned up a little bit and get our fresh oil and fresh filter back in. Our oil's done draining, and we're going to get our cap and drain system back installed. So remember, the rubber gasket goes in first, spring should point out, and then the cover goes on top after that. It's a little bit of an awkward angle to get everything in here just right. I'll put the cap on, get it started. Okay, I got this drain cap started. A couple threads are going now, and we're gonna just finish off tightening with a 19 millimeter socket, using a couple extensions on a ratchet here to make reaching a little bit easier so we can get things tightened up. Okay, we're just gonna have that snug, not too tight. Now it's time to put our new oil filter in. It's important to always make sure to lubricate the gaskets on your new oil filters. So just take some fresh oil on your finger. Make sure that these are nice and lubricated so they don't stick to the case of the engine. Slide this in. And we'll put the cover back on. This cover can only go on one way with the way the holes are positioned. Get one of our screws to hold that in place here. Shortest screw goes in the front. The longest screw goes in the back. And the mid-length screw goes in the bottom. Again, these bolts, you want them snug but not too tight. Now we're going to fill up with oil. This machine takes 1.6 US quarts or 1,500 milliliters. We're going to be running 10W40. In Western Pennsylvania here, the temperature ranges from about 0 degrees Fahrenheit up to about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So this 10W40 oil will give the best protection through that range of temperatures. If your temperature range isn't as wide, or if your climate is warmer, you may want to run 20W50. Okay, our oil change is complete. Fresh oil filter. We're going to crank over the engine a few times here and then check the level just to make sure everything is correct. To properly check the level of the oil, pull the dipstick. Wipe that off. And then insert the dipstick, but do not thread the dipstick in. Then pull the dipstick and check the level. Our level's within range there. Probably use a little bit more just to top off. So we'll add just a little bit of oil here. And then we'll be done. One step closer to taking this three-wheeler for a ride. Thanks for watching. If you could click like and subscribe, it would really mean a lot.